Welcome to a Memorial Day episode, e- Memorial Day edition of Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report 328. I am your host, Michael. Joining me as per usual, Gail from the Falcon Valley Group of Communities Digital News, Daniel from the Inscriber. What's going on, lady and gent?
Hey, there's no holiday from boxing. There's no holiday from boxing. We got too much to cover. You can all sit back in your lounge chairs or wherever you're parked with your beverage. And, you've had your Memorial Day dinner, some of you, I'm sure. And now all you have to do is just relax and check it out.
Absolutely. And it's a bit of a disclaimer: if you hear some noise in the background, Gail's dogs, her boxers are basically having a phone booth
Yes, they
warfare
are.
at her residence
They're
right
it's
now.
StubHub South at my house right now here in San Diego. They're fighting in a phone booth, and I will say it's the ladies. So
Yeah, man, look, they put up more of a fight than Nordine Oubaali did Saturday night. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, for those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report, live YouTube show, podcast, and website discussing all things boxing. The motto is: when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, it will get talked about. If you want to find out more information regarding the show, the website is the place to go to, P4P Boxing Report. Com. Let me repeat that again, p4pboxingreport.com. You check out the website, the top portion of the site, you'll find information. You'll find the links to where to find us all over the podcast realm, iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, anywhere and everywhere in between. We're just about all over at this point. You check towards the bottom of the page, you'll find links to where to find us on social media, the Facebook page, the Twitter page, the IG page, uh, the Tumblr page, also links to where to find us, where you can donate. I got a Cash Me PayPal donation links there. And last but certainly not least, link to my online coaching page. July 5th, the next edition of my Let's Build Together online fitness challenge. If you're looking to get your body right for the summer, or if you're looking to step your fitness game up, please check out my coaching page, my Let's Build Together group challenge. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get both Gail and Daniel to take part. Um, Programs all over the spectrum on Beachbody on Demand. If you're looking for weightlifting, if you're looking for HIIT, if you're looking for cardio, yoga, uh, MMA style, any and everything in between, be it the old P90X series, the Insanity series, the 6 weeks of the work, Shift Shop, Bar Blend, Plyo, which the ladies seem to like. Um, Runs the gamut, if you will. Also, this new 645 program that's coming out in July, 6 weeks of the work, which is my favorite, but my most challenging. Or if you're looking for a boxing-based workout, check out the 10 rounds program, a 6 week program specifically for boxing. 3 days lifting, 2 days cardio, 3 days cardio, excuse me, 2 days lifting. Really good program for those who want to get themselves boxed right in a boxing based way. Let's get things going this evening by recapping some fights. Shouldn't be that long of a show because there wasn't that many fights to recap and then not many fights to preview. Let's go to Carson, California. Um, no, let me take that back. Let's go to Vegas. Let's go to Vegas. Um, Devin Haney, WBC lightweight champion. He defended his title against Jorge Linares. And I'll go to you, Gail. Interesting fight in that Haney won, and he won by pretty clear-cut decision. But there were moments, particularly late, where it was quite frankly worrisome for him. Excuse me. He did a good job of using his speed, in and out, in his athleticism and his skill to gain the advantage of Linares early and midpoint through the fight. I felt Linares was a little bit hesitant. He didn't go for broke in the way that he should early on, but round 10, at the end of round 10 specifically, he hurt Haney with a right hand hook. Haney wobbled to the corner. I thought Linares should have stepped it up and really went for it since his man was hurt. But I don't know. He didn't go for the fire. Haney was still wounded those last 2 rounds, and I don't know why Linares didn't just go for broke. Haney won. Many will have questions of him afterwards. My question is, Linares, why was he so slow on the draw? Why was he so hesitant at large segments of this fight, Gail?
Haney wanted to do two things at once in this fight, and they were incompatible with each other. He wanted to fight in the style that suits him best, score a win against clearly his best opponent to date, and set himself up for future fight. On the other hand, he also knows, he hears the chatter, he reads the criticism that he isn't the equal of the other so-called four princes, if we're talking about the group that is made up of Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Tank Davis, and Ryan Garcia. So let's assume we're talking about those four. And he hears that he's sort of ranked number 4 of 4 on the excitement scale and the skill scale, and he's not the most appealing opponent. So he knew not only did he need to win, doing it the way he knows how, that suits him best, he needed to entertain. And these things are at odds right now with Devin Haney. He, in my mind, is becoming a little bit of this generation's Demetrius Andrade. Andrade is a immensely skilled fighter. He really is. Puts on a clinic every time he fights. But we all have heard the criticism. He's boring. He can't close the show. He steps off the gas. And we had a little bit of this going on, and I just couldn't help but see the parallels here. And the problem with that is that then they aren't an appealing matchup, because while they bring all the challenge in the world to the table, and in Andrade's case, a belt, and in Haney's case, a belt, although that's another story. And on the other hand, they don't bring a really big, rabid, excited fan base, a lot of eyeballs, a lot of money, a lot of the other things that are very important to the boxing business. So Haney moved the needle forward a little. Number one, he won the fight, and he clearly won the fight. He walked through a little bit of fire. That is a good thing for him. That was actually a plus. He got rocked at the end of, I believe it was 10th or 11th round. Linares started coming on near the end of the fight. But, I think the problem was, he was just a little bit tired. Right at the end of the fight, I think if he'd had just a little more in the tank left, no pun intended, he might have taken Haney down, or he might have at least made the fight a lot closer. He might have scored some knockdowns. We'll never know, will we? But Linares, on the other hand, did show he's still got plenty to offer. He is a very entertaining fighter. He is willing to take a chance. It's kind of amazing that he didn't bleed all over the place. He's got so much scar tissue on his face. I mean, he should get, free passes to every plastic surgery convention from here until the end of his life, just because he probably knows everybody there. But he held up really well, which tells me that his defense was pretty good, because if you hit Linares, you're going to open something up. There's just almost nowhere on his face that hasn't been cut, at least at some point. So he held up pretty well, considering. And that does make you question Haney's intrinsic power. You don't need bone-crushing power to be a great boxer. You don't. But people do want to see opponents on the floor more often than they see them standing there waiting for the cards. So you'll see what happens. Haney thinks this is going to set himself up for a fight with Teofimo Lopez. We'll see. Lopez has got to take care of some business here in a couple of weeks. We'll see how he looks against George Kambosos. We all think he's going to handle this just fine. Stranger things have happened with Australian fighters, as we know. So we'll have to let it play out. And then we'll have to see also what Lopez's promotional arrangements are. So there's a lot of issues in the mix. In the end, though, Haney got his win. I think he walked away answering some questions and walked away with many new ones also being asked. And he came across in the post-fight news conference, to me, as a little bit defensive.
If you hear some background noise on my end, it is Memorial Day and the neighbors are having their own festivities, cookouts, and shooting fireworks and whatnot. So my apologies for that. I'll go to you, Daniel. Haney is often grouped with Tank, Ryan Garcia, and the aforementioned Teofimo, kind of this quartet of young lightweights. Assess what you saw from him against Linares, and in the aftermath, what does it say about Haney in comparison to those other three young, talented lightweights?
What you saw mainly is a Haney that is varying his attack a little bit more, especially on the defensive side. Doing a little bit better job with the jab. Trying to be a bit more assertive and being a better counterpuncher. But you also saw Devin Haney that was rocked for pretty close to three straight rounds. And there were the rounds you did not want to be rocked in the middle. And you have to take a lot of that into the account, because when the first time he got rocked near the end of the 10th round, when Linares pretty much made him do a little bit of an ole back to the corner at the end of the round, he was on shaky legs throughout the 11th, and then in the 12th, he made it a point to just hug his way through that round. In fact, at one point, I forgot what minute it was, he blatantly ran into a clinch. What it tells me is that he has never been rocked to that extent before. And this is toward Linares, who he beat up pretty good with the jab and did a pretty good body attack. So that was depleted Linares as far as power, but even that rocked him. What it tells me is that he may not really be ready to face the other punchers, like as far as in the weight class. Because right now, if based on that performance, Tank will knock him out. Whether Tank makes weight or not, that's another thing, but Tank will knock him out. Teofimo will drop him. Ryan Garcia, he'll probably have a little bit more success with, but Garcia has faster hands than Linares, so there's a chance that Garcia can drop him. So there really, really is both good things and bad things to say when it comes to Haney. And to touch on what Gail mentioned, particularly in the post-fight press conference, he came off a bit Broner-esque in a way when he tried to say that he won easy and try to say it didn't win rounds, like the entire world wasn't blind to rounds 10, 11, and 12. And not to mention some of the later rounds, because he did build up that lead in the early rounds. Like there's nothing saying that, the Linares actually won the fight. No, Haney won the fight on points. Probably this 116, 112 cards were probably a little bit closer. 115, 113, that was a little bit generous towards Linares, but at the end of the day, it tells me that there are some things that Haney may need to work on. And if I'm Haney's team, I know he said I want Teofimo. No, if I'm Eddie Hearn, if I'm Haney's dad, I'm like, no, you are gonna go after the Fortuna Diaz winner, and you better praise Jojo Diaz, because we don't know what Jojo Diaz power is at lightweight. So there's both good and bad to look at when it comes to Haney. And right now, you just gotta hope that he doesn't get rocked the way he did before.
Yeah, before Haney can talk about, I know he talked about Teofimo, and I can understand that. It's probably the fight right now at 135 because we just what Tank Davis fighting at 140 right now. We're not sure if he's going to come back down to 135. And it wasn't like it was not like he was making that weight easily, partially because of his own lack of discipline. Excuse me. So we don't know his status. But before talk of a fight with Teofimo, who is fighting Kambosos next month, he has to fight to win. There to go Haney went through against Linares. It's better than having to deal with it when you fight the quote unquote big super fight. People will question Haney. I take kind of the other side of it, the contrarian view, and say that Haney will look at this if he's really honest with himself. And I think he can become a better fighter. And I think he will become a tougher fighter. The skills are there, but he needed that kind of moment where he really gets rocked, he really gets clipped. Next time that happens, or if it happens again, he'll know how to adjust. So yes, Teofimo's out there, but he has a way to go before he gets to that fight. Let's see how he improves the next time he gets in the ring in the aftermath of this fight. Linares, he's still there. He still has fights left. I don't know if he's championship level, but you got to give it to him. He's tough. He's solid as an oak, and he's proved himself throughout his career. I'll go to you, Dana, to talk about this undercard bout. Chantelle Cameron. Unfortunately, I was not able to see it. I was still at work when this fight was happening. If you saw it, please comment on it. Fought a lady by the name of Melissa Hernandez. The fight was stopped in 8, but from everything I read, the fight was a quick stoppage, competitive fight, but the fight was a quick stoppage. And I saw on my boxing timeline, a lot of people were upset about it. Because I wasn't able to see it, I'm going to pass the mic to you to give your breakdown of the fight. Was the outrage that I saw on boxing Twitter, was it justified?
Gail, you might have to take on this one because I unfortunately did miss that fight too.
I didn't miss a minute of that fight. So Chantelle Cameron is fighting an opponent quite a bit older than her. Essentially, Melissa Hernandez came out of retirement for this fight. She's a Puerto Rican-based fighter in the U.S. She, back in the day, fought everyone. She fought Layla McCarter 4 times. She's fought Erica Farias. She also had a series with, boy, it escapes me. So she's 41 years old and agreed to take the fight. And I'll tell you, nobody had more fun than she did fight week. She enjoyed herself. She's got a great sense of fun. She taunted Cameron. She stuck her tongue out at her at the weigh-in, kind of classic boxing antics. You know what? Good for her. And she was getting clobbered in the ring from the opening bell. Cameron is relentless. She is an offensive-minded fighter. She places punches very nicely. She's very skilled. And she was just beating the crap out of Hernandez. So I had none of the kind of problem with the stoppage that apparently others did. And perhaps they weren't familiar with Hernandez. She was in there. She was on her feet. She was fighting back, sort of, not effectively, but, she was not, she wasn't wobbling on her feet or out, but she was just getting, pummeled. And the referee was clearly aware of their situations. Hernandez has only had, I think, 3 fights in the last 4 or 5 years. The writing was on the wall. There's absolutely no reason to have a 41-year-old fighter in there, absolutely just getting beat, just being used as a human heavy bag. And that's why the fight got stopped. It was going nowhere. Cameron was in control, not just every minute of every round, every second of every round. This is why I would like to see 3-minute rounds, because Cameron certainly could have scored a knockdown given that extra 60 seconds to work with. But when you've only got 2 minutes, it's a little tough. Still, really good performance. She's very strong. A lot of people would like to see her get a shot at Katie Taylor. She wants a shot at Katie Taylor. I think it'd be a darn good fight. She's clearly got the skills. She doesn't have quite the same amount of experience, but she'd give her a good run. She would, and I think she earned it with this performance.
When you see the fight,
You sounded broken up there, Mike.
I was going to ask, was anybody able to, before we move on, Gary?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to ask that once again.
Was anybody able to see the Gary Antoine Russell fight?
I did see the Gary Antoine Russell fight. How about you?
Oh.
Yeah, that I did. Yeah, that I was able to catch. Yes.
Take it away. Take it away.
It was a decent performance. Gary Antoine Russell did what he needed to do. He impressed. He showed a little bit more range and skills. He showed a little bit more patience with the jab. And he ultimately finished the way he was supposed to. The kid is getting ready. The kid is getting ready to being able to tie the picture, so that maybe, hopefully, he can try to canoodle his brother into not fight, who's his co-trainer technically, into fighting more than once a year, because he's going to need it still in order to get the world stage. He's not at that level yet when it comes to, like I said, to say he's world caliber yet, but he's getting there. He shows he has the potential to get there.
Yeah, he has the Russell skills. You can see the family talents on display. He's got good fast hands. He's very aggressive, very smart in the ring. He's also really a good interview. He's fun. If you haven't heard a podcast interview with Gary Antoine Russell, look one up. He was on PBC's podcast either last week or the week before. He was damned entertaining. Talked about his family. He is 8 years younger than his much more well-known brother, Mr. Gary Russell. Let's hope that the one thing that he does not have a family resemblance with is sitting around for a year between fights. It's just the mystery of his older brother. So who knows? I hopefully you're right, Daniel, that Gary Antoine will show the opportunities and the growth are there for him, because he's more active and more exciting, and you're hearing from him more often. Instead of his older brother, who cashes his one payday, and apparently he must invest it well, and maybe he's just made a fortune in cryptocurrency or something, and he doesn't need to fight more than once a year. Who knows? They certainly keep all the money in the family, because dad is the co-trainer, main trainer for both of them. So, they travel as a pack. But he looked good. He looked very good in this fight.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to get that out the way. That fight took place on the undercard of the next fight we're going to talk about, Donaire and Oubaali. Let's go to that. I'll go to you, Daniel. We talked about it last week. We kind of set it up as like a 60-40 either way for each guy. And we have this episode named Hall of Fame status cemented, because Nonito Donaire, the Filipino Flash. You want to talk about beauty and brutality and professionalism at the same time. That was a clinic. I wrote the recap of that for Three Kings Boxing. Please check out Three Kings Boxing, the latest for boxing, and your best source for boxing information. Just go to threekingsboxing.com. Shout out to the folks over there. 2K, the man behind Three Kings Boxing, head of media relations, Bo, who you heard on last week's show, lead writer Bakari, fellow senior writer Mikul, yours truly, as well as Arias. What he got off to a decent start in the first round and a half, but you could just see Donaire sizing him up, figuring out late point of round 2, he got the left hook cranking, and he was thinking, put him down close to the midway point of round 3. At that point, to me, the fight was over. Oubaali really should have been had the fight weighed off at that moment because he was done. And then Donaire, with the cool precision of a seasoned pro, just bided his time, got his punches off, got his punches going, connected, and then just finished him off in brutal fashion. If anybody thought, how can I put this? The saying is we should give the flowers to our legends now while they still are alive to appreciate and smell them. I think that moment is due to Nonito Donaire now. If anybody doubt how great of a fighter he is, and anybody doubts whether he's a future Hall of Famer, he proved it in this fight. This again, I just can't say enough about his performance at 38 years old, Daniel.
Yeah, this was Nonito Donaire at his, you could say, at his finest at this stage of his career, because not only did he show patience in this fight, he showed a poise as far as not rushing into the attack. Once he landed that left hook in the second round, I could think, and the first knockdown, okay, you got into it, but then the second knockdown, the one where Oubaali really much fell on his face, and normally you don't get up when you fall on your face when it comes to knockout, when it comes to a knockdown like that. He didn't try to bum rush in the beginning of the next round. He gave Oubaali the respect that a champion deserves. And he patiently waited to set it up again. And the way the fight ended, right cross, left uppercut on the way down. That was a thing of beauty. And that's one of the best counters you can always send. It's almost elementary at a certain point. But this pretty much, like, it completely rehabilitates in many ways Nonito Donaire in the eyes of a boxing crowd that can be, what have you done for me lately? Because we have to remember, he didn't look as good when he tried to go up in weights past featherweight. But then the opportunity came. World Boxing Super Series at bantamweight. And he showed particularly against somebody who's considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in anyway. Broke his over the bone while doing it. And this fight pretty much cements it. Like, Nonito Donaire is not done yet. He is back at his weight. He's back at where he is best, at where he performs best at. Now it's a question of, can he sustain it against the best? Because anyway, even though he won, he knows he has something to prove, because that was not supposed to happen when it came to him and Donaire. The way that fight incurred, that was not supposed to happen. And remember, earlier on, he did mention that not only did he wants to rematch anyway, he wants to rematch Rigondeaux. Like I said, the fighter that did pretty much start the derailment in many ways to what he was being positioned to be. Because we have to remember, Donaire was one of the first major Filipino fighters that at least top rank at the time was probably positioning to be the heir to Manny, when they still had Manny, like I said, on the roster, but they saw him as a potential heir. And Rigondeaux, we know, in that fight in New York City, Radio City Music Hall, kind of certainly derailed those plans. But Donaire has now come all the way back. He's now once again the champion. Not only that, he's a respected champion, a professional champion. He's not a cocky one. He is somebody that respects the sport, respects the fighters that have come before him, and respects the fighters that are going to be ahead of him. Oubaali's still going to be ahead of him. This loss is not a situation where, with Oubaali's like quote unquote exposed. No, he got caught by somebody who still has power. He got caught. That's pretty much it. That's not exposing in many ways, because Oubaali wasn't exactly building resume. He won the title, but he faced somebody that was very, very motivated. And when it comes to Donaire, to me, the Hall of Fame credentials were already set in stone before this fight. This pretty much makes it very, very, very hard to not do, at least in this stage, probably at the worst, second ballot. So Castaneda, we know, is going to have some things to consider once Donaire steps away from the ring. But like I said, we're not going to see that until at least at this stage, until either the middle of the next decade or the beginning of the 2030s.
It was such an impressive performance on so many levels. And what was truly enjoyable beyond just the absolute excellence on display, I mean,
Good.
Donaire just took
Very, very good.
out.
Afterwards, he talked about unifying, right, at 118. First goal being a rematch against Inoue, but there's also Casimiro who's fighting Rigo later on this summer. If you were handling him, first comment on the fight, give your opinion on the fight, but if you choose that match with Inoue, or would you wait and see what Capital win? He and Donaire and all Filipino matchup, that's a really good fight as well.
I'm all for a Casimiro matchup. I think that would just be tremendous. Now, Donaire, what he'd really like is a rematch with somebody he lost to. Now, it might be Rigo. I don't know. Rigo would need to fight at bantamweight. Clearly, this has been a brilliant move by Donaire, being able to make 118 and stay there. It's absolutely his best division. He only has one loss at 118. So there's that to consider. He would really like another crack at the monster. I think he's crazy, but I admire his ambition and how enthusiastic he is, how motivated he is. And he talked a lot about that leading up to this fight. It made it really hard not to believe in him going in. I did pick him to win. I thought, he looks good. The rest was good for him at this age. It was, he was one of the few guys probably who benefited from the pandemic, forcing him to slow his roll a little bit in training. He realized there were things he could do smarter at this age, and he put it all together. So is he built himself back up to take another crack at Naoya Inoue? He wants to unify. He really wants to unify. And I think the revenge factor would just be so big for him. And he knows how close he came. That's the real motivation of anybody who's faced Inoue. He's the only one who's really given him a challenge. And I think we might see it. I would love it. I don't think that's a big mountain to climb, a really, really big one. The only thing I can hope is that maybe Inoue ages out of the weight class and goes up, and Nonito Donaire has a open runway to go there. there's a lot of exciting things. He seems very open to a lot of possibilities. I mean, he made it clear this was not one and done. He's not riding off into the sunset. He wants to be around for another few years, and given how he looked, why not?
Because of how the first fight went.
Oh, I think we lost Mike in the connection.
I think we did. We'll probably see him pop back. I think he probably like to see him against Casemiro first, see where he fares. What's your appetite for a Rigondeaux fight, Daniel?
Issues.
I mean, that's a fight a lot of people.
I was dealing with technical issues on my apologies, because how in a way, because how he was tested that first fight, because of how Donaire pushed him to the limit. I don't think it's crazy for him to want a rematch, right? Because yes, he went down, but it was from a body shot. In a way, hit him with plenty of headshots, didn't hurt him. But yet on a couple occasions, Donaire was able to rock him seriously at one point, I believe in round 9, and broke his orbital bone. He stepped to him, and I didn't see any deterioration at this age, serious deterioration from that fight to the fight with Oubaali. I will argue power is still there. He still has one of the meanest left hooks in the sport, and he has experience. So no. If he wants to go in there and rumble with the monster again, I say let him do it.
He gave him the biggest challenge of his career so far. Well, who wouldn't want to see it? Who else is out there for Inui? Let's turn it on the other direction. Who's out there to take him on and give him as much of a challenge as Donaire did? Just if it's even a list, it's a really short list.
Indeed, because we just saw what he did against Oubaali. We'll see what Rigo is against Casemiro.
I mean, the only thing I could even
if I was to put him, if I was to say him and Casemiro for a fight now,
the only one I can imagine is if Juan Francisco Estrada decided, I'll come up to 118 and take him on and see what happens. I'd love to see that, and I have no doubt he could do it.
That's gonna be a tough one now. Gail, you asked about when they came to Rigondeaux. I'm personally intrigued by a prospect of a rematch with Rigondeaux, because that fight changed both of their careers forever, for good and bad, on both ends. So that, to me, it's kind of a crossroads fight. Like Rigondeaux coming in through his way, not being as successful as he thought he was going to be. Donaire rebuilding himself back up. It would be interesting to see how it would fare, because it's not gonna be a situation where one guy's much younger than the other, but we're both pretty up there in age, as far as like when boxing is concerned. So it'd be an interesting fight, but so the Casemiro one would be the one to do, because first we don't know yet how healed Inoue is from that orbital bone break. And second, any Inoue fight at this point of his career, you're going to want it in New Year's Eve in Tokyo. And given how Japan has more or less dropped the football on several occasions recently when it comes to the pandemic, you don't know if you're going to be able to get that fight during that time. Because think about it, folks. Today is the last day of May. We're already to the midpoint of the year. So, and like I said, Japan is having some issues. So, but I know they're smart enough to know that the big money is going to be in that New Year's Eve fight. Now, whether a potential Triple G Murata fight kicks him out of there, that's another question. But that's probably be the path. Casimiro or Rigondeaux, depends who wins him from them. And then anyway, because like Gail mentioned, Donaire knows how close he got. And he probably doesn't want to have the thoughts of like some of the older fighters, like we mentioned with Linares, that if he went a little bit more gung-ho towards a young fighter, he probably would have won. Like I said, Linares is probably thinking that way. We know Vladimir Klitschko expressed that concern when he lost to Joshua. So that we know with Donaire, he has the heart of a warrior. That is affecting him in many ways, knowing that he came this close to dethroning the monster. So that's going to be a hell of a motivator. But he knows he'll probably wait for the big money for that one to come.
Yeah, so absolutely, we'll see where Donaire goes. Wherever he decides in his pursuit to unify the title at 118, I think all fans will be watching, particularly after this dominant performance. Let's move on to one last fight. I'll go back to you, Daniel. Subriel Matias, he's engaged in essentially an IBF little mini tournament to determine the number one contender at 140 pounds. He fought a guy by the name of undefeated Kazakh fighter from Kazakhstan who's fighting out of Canada by the name of Jukembayev. Stopped him in 8 rounds. Here's the thing. Matthias, he fights like he's allergic to defense, right? But the man has power, and he tries to go in there and your help. It wasn't that Jukembayev was fighting poorly. He landed his fair share of shots, even hurt Matthias with a right hook at the midway point of the. I think it came back.
Okay, Mike, you broke up a little bit, so but I think I got the gist of your question, even though you broke up a little bit. I saw the highlights of it because I said I was in traffic, but oh man, that Matias fight, that was, if we're going by those highlights, that is an exciting fighter to watch. Yes, he has to work on his defense because he's in Josh Taylor's division. So it's not a situation where you can just decide, hey, let ignore defense, let me go balls to the wall. You can't do that against somebody like Josh Taylor. But it's going to be a very, very exciting fight. A very, very exciting fighter to see. And like I said, it's one of the, maybe like I said, I know Josh Taylor's eyeing certain opponents for his next fight, trying to make him some money. But you know what? The IBF is the one sanctioning body that actually follows the rules to a certain extent. So if Matias steps up to the ladder, who knows? We might actually see Taylor versus Matias coming up. And I wouldn't mind that. Like I said, it'll be an all-action fighter versus somebody that's pretty defensively sound. It'll make sure that he steps up his game, but I wouldn't mind seeing it.
I don't mind too much his lack of defense. It's just not the kind of fighter he is. He comes forward and he lets it rip. He's in good condition. His accuracy is good. His power is good. Jukembayev was no pushover. He fought back. He made Subriel Matias work for the win, and he certainly deserved it. He proved a couple of things that I was very impressed by. Number one, he proved that his win over Malik Hawkins wasn't a fluke, and that's the real deal. Let us also remember it's only been a couple of fights ago that Matias fought Maxim Dadashev. And we all know what happened to Maxim Dadashev. He was injured, gravely injured, and as it turned out, fatally injured in that fight. That can really derail the fighter who's the one who's delivered the punishment leading to the medical issues. It's never their fault. I won't say never. You should never say never and always. It's rarely their fault, but they often take it very hard, take it very much to heart. Subriel Matthias has worked through whatever that issue was. He's either gotten good counseling, good advice, good guidance coming up to give him the strength to process all of that and move forward without apology. That is really tough to do. That's a trial by fire. You live with that the rest of your life. If he's able to perform like we saw Saturday after going through that gauntlet, that impresses me even more. And I'll be very interested to see who he tackles next. Josh Taylor, ooh, that's a lot, but somebody's got to fight Josh Taylor, so why not?
Yeah, first of all, my apologies. My Wi-Fi is giving me fits right now. So again, got technical issues going on. I want to apologize for that.
It's all those neighbors of yours having their party, all got their phones and they're streaming and all that lit up. They're messing us up tonight.
And second of all, I want to give a shout out to What You Need, who's joined us live on the show. Not live on the show, but he's live in the YouTube chat. What's going on, sir? If you're still here, What You Need in the chat, give me your thoughts on Haney and Donaire. He says here, I'm going to put up for everybody here. He says that he felt that Haney and Donaire's performances were both excellent. So we'll give a shout out to him. Thanks for joining us. If you have any more questions or comments, please feel free to, don't be hesitant to, feel free to do so. Let me put it that way. Let's move on to some news here. And one story here, one main story I want to focus on, and took place Friday night. Gail and Daniel, we were part of a private discussion amongst boxing media on Zoom. And during that discussion, news broke regarding John Pascal, who holds a belt at 175 pounds. And yeah, Pascal, he's on that big, apparently he was on that big baby Miller cocktail, Gail. Not one, not two, but 3 different substances he failed. What? And this was some high-powered, potent stuff that, yeah, explain, because I have no language. What are you doing, John?
What the hell? Yeah, no kidding. You get popped like that. That is not one plate of tainted beef. That's not an accident. That's somebody who was counting on not getting tested and not getting caught. My understanding is that Pascal was tested a couple of weeks prior to when he expected to be tested. And yeah, whoopsies, working with Memo Heredia. We all know the history there. And the octane of the PED cocktail he was taking, well, whatever you're putting in your gas tank, this stuff would blow it away. And Pascal, either has the nerve or the stupidity or something else I just can't explain to have completely denied it, said it must be a mistake, he's clean, nope, can't be him. Well, we've all heard this before. What a shame. And the victim in this is Batyrzhan, who's now left high and dry. The promoters are going to try to find him another fight. But at this point of Batyrzhan's career, he shouldn't just be taking fights to have fights. He needs significant fights. He deserves them to move him forward for the later half of his career. But it is always the opponent who gets screwed over. Well, the only good thing is that if he was that juiced up, that he got caught before he was standing in front of Batyrzhan that juiced up. So we can at least be grateful for that. But it is a real head scratcher. Inexplicable. It really is. Shame on him. Shame on whoever led him down that path and talked him into it. Pascal could have turned it down, but seriously, what are y'all thinking? I suppose they figure Pascal's had a very, has been very roughed up through his career. He's older. He had a great performance in his last fight against Jack, and they didn't want to take any chances. What a shame.
3 different banned substances, Daniel. Eppie, drostanolone, both forms of drostanolone, the regular and the metabolic A. To Gail's point, this is some old school. This is some Russian 2016 stuff that they try to get through the Olympics. They basically banned the entire Olympic team. This is old school East German stuff. And if I'm Bernard Hopkins, I'm sitting here, I'm sitting somewhere just laughing. This the same, the irony, Daniel. This dude basically was ranting and raving when he fought B-Hop. I think he was either the first or second fight, yelling, demanding that B-Hop take a test, take a test, take a test. All these years later, he popped positive, not for just some simple stuff, major, major, heavy duty stuff. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh my God. First, we were in that Zoom webinar call. We saw Leonard Everly. I wonder if he knew before then and just let it continue, because in that call they were going at it. Pascal and Jack, they were going at it, and then this drops. And as soon as I found out that Memo was involved in Pascal's camp, I went like, oh no, because we all know Memo already has a reputation in this sport, and it is a very, very shady reputation, to say the least. And unfortunately, when it comes to Pascal, he goes from the man that demands a Hall of Famer take a test to now him this will end his career. This will end his career. I don't think he'll be able to even fight in Canada at this point. Which is one of my line was thinking was, okay, maybe they let him slide in some tests in Canada, and now that he's not fighting in Canada, he had to go through a regular test regimen, and he got caught. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is now, Batyrzhan is without an opponent. He's pretty, and very likely at this stage, he likely won't have an opponent for this. And you got to feel bad, because Batyrzhan has been one of the hard luck fighters of his division. Whether it's that draw that he had, that supposed draw that he had against the Gale, whether it was that nasty cut, I forgot what fight it was, where he had a nasty cut right in the middle of his head. But he's had some hard luck fights that had not gone his way. And for this to happen, this is just you all you can do is shake your head at this point when it comes to this. People should know right now at this sport that, hey, they're actually testing. You're gonna get caught at some point or another, because you're risking a lot of money. You're risking a lot of things when it comes to these fights. And if you risk too much, even in situations where you can have a plausible excuse, i.e. like Canelo, he had a plausible excuse. Whether people believe him or not is another question. But at least it's plausible. You have no plausible excuse for this. None. So there's really not much to say. You got to feel bad for Batyrzhan. More than likely, he's not going to fight again. He's not going to fight this year. And more than likely, he's probably not going to see another fight until late 2022, whenever Floyd decides to do something else.
Going to go back to you, because you mentioned something in the private chat, a bit of breaking news regarding Anthony Joshua. Make that what you just heard public now. So,
well, I was checking boxing scene, because I
I checked boxes in another site while we're at it, just in case something like this happens, because Eddie Hearn has been on an interview rampage lately. Whether it's shifting blame of the Joshua Fury fight not happening, or like I said, trying to do other things in that area. Well, he was apparently he blurted something out regarding the WBO situation. Now, if we remember in the initial statement that Eddie Hearn had when the arbitration ruling came in a couple weeks ago, he said that the focus is going to be on getting Joshua the WBO mandatory Alexander Usyk out of the way. Well, apparently, and this is from Let's Boxing, Keith Eilick, who we know doesn't really report a lot of nonsense, so you can take him on his word. Apparently, Hearn is trying to say when it comes to situation Usyk, that he is not going to allow the situation go to a purse bid. They're either going to make this fight, or he's going to have Joshua drop the belt, which would immediately kill the main prestige of Joshua Fury if you have another heavyweight champion out there. So this is Eddie playing hardball with Edge's Klimas, trying to say, like, look, just take my money because you're fighting for all three belts. You'd rather fight Anthony Joshua than Joe Joyce for a vacant title. But then it'll feed into the whole narrative that maybe Eddie doesn't want AJ to face Usyk. Maybe he thinks that Usyk can beat AJ. And so he'd rather avoid the situation rather than have the situation forced upon him like it is now.
Your reaction to what Daniel's reporting regarding Joshua possibly vacating the WBO belt, Gil?
Well, if they can't make the deal they want with Usyk, or they've got some issue with Usyk, that's the way to get around it. And it's a threat worth dangling as a bargaining chip. Will we see it really happen? Is this a bit of a playing chicken with the sanctioning body? Hard to say. The truth is, if all these guys had the guts to do it, and believe me, I don't think it's ever going to happen. But let's just imagine in our boxing fantasy land that Usyk, Joshua, Fury, Wilder, Joe Joyce, all top 5 or 6 guys just say, sanctioning bodies, screw y'all, or in stronger versions of that language. We don't need your belts. We know the top dog is. We're all going to fight each other in the order we want, when we want, and may the last man standing be considered the unified, undisputed, lineal heavyweight champion.
First and foremost,
and let everyone figure it out for themselves. Never happened, but wouldn't that be interesting? Because this is part of the game playing going on that's going to prevent fans from seeing good matchups.
I want to give a shout out to EJ Boxing Live, who's joined us, who's listening live right now from the UK. Answer me this question that I put in the chat, EJ. You're on the ground there. You know the ins and outs of the UK boxing scene. Give me any updates while we're doing the show live. Have you heard anything about AJ and Hearn deciding to vacate the WBO title with Usyk? And we'll just put it right here live in front of everybody on the screen and for everybody who's checking us out live. So give me some update on that while we're talking, EJ, if you please.
Well, looks like he thinks that Joshua doesn't want any part of Usyk.
Yeah, he says right here, he responds, appreciate it, my brother. He says here that AJ don't want no smoke with Usyk. Answer me this question while you're here, EJ. Do you think that that's going to be the eventual move? Do you think that in the end, Joshua will vacate the belt and Usyk will fight someone for the WBO title. Please answer that for me before we sign off. Let's move on here to some fights while we're at as we get ready to shut down the show. The return of Daniel Dubois. He's fighting on the 6th, fighting a guy by the name of Dinu. Don't know much about him, Daniel, but from what I've seen, and based on his record and resume, it looks like it's going to be pretty much easy work for Dubois, who was forced to retire from his last bout against Joe Joyce because of a fractured eye socket. They're going to try to get him back in the hunt pretty soon. And to me, Dino should be pretty much easy work.
Yeah, this is pretty much a standard Frank Warren rebuilding, where you're not going to face somebody that is going to be too dangerous for you, particularly when it's a fighter in Dubois that really got put into a situation he probably was not going to be ready for when they had to have that fight with Joyce to position themselves up for to get a ranking to get a shot at the title. And we know what happened, like you mentioned, Mike, a broken eye socket. But now it's time to rebuild them. Like I say, right now the heavyweight situation is very volatile, and we can have a situation at the end of the year where the top fight can go from being two Brits to between an American and Ukrainian. So you got to start positioning yourself to be the next person, if it does happen, to be the next person that avenges the UK in a way. And they said from losing, like I said, a stake in the heavyweight title, Dubois has some skills. Dubois has a lot of potential. It's best to go in him slowly. Don't try to do the speed rack for him, because the heavyweight landscape is changing a lot. Like he may have to go through Usyk. Hell, he may have to go through Tony Yoka at a certain point. So it's better to position him slowly, and it's standard. Like I don't expect any real danger from this fight.
Last fight we're going to preview, Gail, is Jarrett Hurd. We haven't heard much from him since he lost the title to J-Rock back 2 years ago. He's had a fight since, fought a guy by the name of Santana. He returns to the ring this weekend to fight Luis Arias, who himself he hasn't fought in almost 2 years. Last time we seen him, he was a loss to Luke Keeler, went down twice in that bout, but he also had a draw with Gabe Rosado as well. Hurd trying to get back into the title picture, just like Dubois. I don't think he will have much problems with Keeler. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think he'll have any trouble, and he knows that he can't have any trouble. He cannot afford to have his career derailed. Right now, in that division, there's a lot of opportunity up for grabs, but you've got to perform to get there. Otherwise, you're going to start seeing two divisions ruled by the Charlo brothers. So Hurd wants himself some of that, and he's perfectly capable of it. Let's hope that his stumbles have created learning opportunities for him. And if he can demonstrate that that's true, I'll be very impressed. And, his fortunes will improve a lot. His standing will improve a lot. And I think a lot of people want to give him a chance to do it.
Now, this fight with Hurd and Arias, Batyrzhan supposedly is going to fight on this card as well. Don't know the opponent as of the recording of this episode. That's going to happen. All those fights are going to happen on the quote unquote exhibition. I'm not going to say much about that quote unquote exhibition. I'm going to give you, Gil, and Daniel the floor. If you want to talk about it, You can do so right now.
What exhibition are you talking about? I hadn't heard anything about an exhibition. Had you heard anything about an exhibition? Listen, come on, folks.
I have no recollection.
Wait a minute. Quick update from EJ regarding our last discussion about Usyk, AJ and Usyk. He says here, he says that AJ wants to fight the best, but Hearn wants AJ to drop the belt. Money talks. It's a 50-50 proposition. I appreciate that update. But yeah, that exhibition. What y'all say about it?
You know, it's reminding me a little bit, and I'll explain myself, of Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight. Everyone needs to understand what you're buying. Let the buyer beware on all of this stuff, what you're getting. This is not high-level boxing athleticism on display. This is entertainment. You know, you see those disclaimers for certain activities, certain, fantasy games and so forth, and you'll see the disclaimer for entertainment purposes only. Ding, ding, ding. That's what this is. If you think this is fun, worth your money, you're entertained by it, you get a kick out of this stuff, by all means, go right ahead and buy it. If you think you're buying a serious athletic challenge between these two, save your money.
Speaking of saving money, Alex Albert G in the chat asking about that exhibition. His comment was, how many rounds do you think name and place dude, YouTube dude, will last? I want to bet the over and under. Your answer to his question, Gail and Daniel.
So here's how you place your bet. Place it going fewer rounds than Mayweather went with Conor McGregor. Fewer. He has less respect for the Paul brothers, either of them, including Logan. He had a lot of respect, say what you will, for Conor McGregor. That promotion and that fight was an absolute partnership. They played their roles perfectly. Floyd carried Conor, gave him a bit of a chance, allowed him to look good. You know, there was some respect going on there, despite all the nasty comments they hurled at each other. That was all part of the game, part of the fun. Floyd does not have that kind of relationship with the Pauls. This is a money issue for him, and Floyd just cannot stand out being out of the spotlight for very long. So fewer rounds than he went with McGregor. I've got to recall, I believe he took McGregor out in the 9th round, 10th round. I would say 8 or under, you're pretty good. And I don't think it'll go even half that. Floyd will knock him out, but what round? You know what? I'm not sure Floyd will flat out knock him out. Logan Paul weighs 30 pounds more than Floyd, assuming these weight limits they both have for this crazy ass fight are held to. Logan Paul can't weigh over 190. Floyd cannot weigh under 160 at the time of the weigh-in. They're going to both fluctuate in opposite directions after that. I bet it'll be a 40-pound difference. So I don't care who you are. It will be difficult for Floyd to completely cold knock out Logan Paul. I can see him beating him up enough, humiliating him enough that the referee gives it a mercy stoppage at some point. And he'll try to make that happen pretty quickly.
What say you about in response to Albert's question, as well as your thoughts about that exhibition, Daniel?
Well, I will just say it as this. There are going to be people that are going to buy this no matter what because it involves Floyd. There are going to be people that are going to buy this no matter what because it involves the Paul brothers. Rarely do we see a Venn diagram become almost a full circle in real time like we're going to see it here. I personally think it's going to be a situation where Floyd's not going to knock him out. They're going to try. He's probably going to drag him out. He's probably going to hit him with like little combinations, not getting himself in any danger. It'll go the full way because they're going to try to milk this for as much as they can. Because if there's any chance that Logan Paul in this case gets close to the distance or even shows a scratch of the fact that, oh, maybe he can handle Floyd, they're going to do a second one because they're going to want the money. Expect this situation for what it is. This is a money-making operation. I do not expect any excitement from it. Like I said, the one fight that I was looking forward to, we talked about earlier, is already off the table. So this is a situation where, okay, yeah, it's going to, for the people that are going to be entertained, you're going to be entertained by it. But ultimately, it's probably going to win up exhibition. Floyd's going to win, probably rather easily. And unless, like, he does some chicanery with Logan, and then you have those little doubts that come in the head, and then suddenly the second fight looks interesting when all we know is that at this point, it's a work.
DJ Boxing Live in the chat says he says that Logan, why did I say his name? I didn't mean to say his name. He wants to say he went the distance for his legacy. You're buying it, sir? Bruh. Why? Why, my brother? Why?
Wait.
If you want the entertainment value of it, I'm all for it.
Wait. I just want to know something, though, EJ. I'm sorry, Gail, but I want to know something, EJ. How much is it in the UK? Is it like one of those little things where it's only like 15, 20 pounds? Because then I understand, because we know the pay-per-view disparity between UK and the US when it comes to the same fights.
Good point. What is the pay-per-view here in the US? Do we know? Anybody know?
49 or something like that, either 49 or 59.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'd love to know.
I value myself.
Alex Alberto G, he's buying it too. You know what? I don't begrudge you guys. I don't. If you find that entertaining, hey, different strokes. Commerce is good. Put some money, into circulation. Hey, especially if you and your pals are all vaccinated, everyone can get together and watch. Fine. No. I do not begrudge you. I'll be finding something else to do. We'll be able to see the highlights within 15 minutes of this thing being over. Yeah.
I have standards, so no thank you.
I will be talking about it next week. We will. We will.
No, y'all will be talking about it. I'll be silent.
Oh God. Now, actually, speaking of this, because now, since we are talking about the Paul brothers, unfortunately, apparently, and this is coming from our good old friend Mike Poppinger, in case nobody knows yet.
Friend?
Yeah.
Qualify that, sir.
Well, we'll just say he is a member of the media. The Athletic employed him for a reason.
Emphasis on a member.
Because he drinks with Eddie Hearn. That's why they employed him. Next.
Yeah. Let's speak truth to power about that dude. A member.
Yeah, but apparently, because I don't know, just checked on Twitter just now, and I just checked the thing, your favorites that come up, and I don't know, we're breaking. Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley have agreed to a deal for a boxing match.
Oh Lord Jesus.
Okay. All right.
Folks, I want you to understand what you're buying. These are one of these. I forgot which one it was because they pissed me off so much. This is a family where one of them actually filmed what's in Japan, what's called the suicide forest, a forest where people actually go and commit suicide. they filmed that, and that's not they filmed that area, and they may have filmed. I don't know if it was a deep fake in the area, but supposedly there was a situation where they may have actually filmed the body. So, yeah, this is what you're fucking buying. What the fuck?
Yep.
And I think we're going to shut the show down on that note.
No.
If you like what you heard this evening, or if you're listening at a later date, if you like what you've heard, please make sure to hit that like button to subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're checking us out on podcast realm like iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, etc., please make sure to subscribe to us there. Now I would love to hear your comments and your questions from you. If you're checking us out on iTunes, please leave a comment regarding the show. Tell us what we're doing good. Tell us what we're doing bad. And 5-star review will get read on the show. And if you want to email us, you can do so at P4PBoxing at P4PBoxingReport.com. Let me repeat that. If you have any questions or want to email us, you can do so at P4Pboxing at P4PBoxingReport.com. And I want to thank everybody who joined us on the live chat. My UK brother, EJ Boxing Live. I want to thank Alex Albert G. Also want to thank What You Need for the comments and the questions. Going to go around the panel here. Beginning the show with ladies first. Going to end the show with ladies first. And speaking of ladies first, Gail, I got a couple of dates targeted for next edition of the Ladies Love Boxing show. So please hang on once we sign off. Gail from Communities Digital News and the Falcon Valley Group for those who want to talk music, for those who want to talk media, or for those who want to check you out on TMZ Live. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Well, keep your eye on TMZ Live. I appear about every few weeks. I'm probably due another appearance. In the meantime, my regular boxing column is at Communities Digital News, COMMDIGI News, comdiginews.com. And the cost of the Mayweather versus Logan Paul pay-per-view in the UK is £16.95 sterling. That's $25 US.
Okay, I understand now. EJ, I get it.
And for those who are give you a free plug here, for those free plug here for the Falcon Valley Group, for those who want to get in touch with you or hire your services in terms of media wise, let the folks know where they can reach you, where they can reach the Falcon Valley Group.
You can find my website and look over what I do for a living, which I run a PR firm in San Diego, falconvalleygroup.com.
Indeed. I'll go to you, Daniel, for those who want to talk boxing, for those who want to talk the NBA, especially as it pertains to the Miami Heat, who admittedly are in a bit of trouble right now as the Milwaukee Bucks are dog walking them right now in the playoffs.
No, they got swept. Like they did get swept.
Oh wow.
It's
sorry to hear that.
No, well, it's a situation where it kind of reminded me of the 2007 season. 2006, we won the championship, and it's not the same exact. Like we did trade for Oladipo, but then again, Oladipo had surgery, and we might have used that scoring, that scoring that Oladipo brought in there. But you know what? At the rate that this is going, the Heat are obviously not going to get back to the finals. There's a good chance that the Lakers are not going to get to the finals because Anthony Davis starts becoming Mr. Glass again. And the Celtics are getting mollywopped. And the Sixers, depending on what Embiid does, they may start to get worried because they just lost tonight to the Wizards. So there's a lot of things happening in the NBA, but you can catch me on Twitter at Ruckus99, RAWKUZ99. Instead of right for the Inscriber Digital Magazine. And like I said, I think this Wednesday or Thursday, me, Joe, and Francis is going to hop on again. Obviously, I know she's going to be very excited about Donaire winning the title. We're going to go over the exhibition, the fights coming up, and obviously, like I said, June. I know we're gonna have to start getting ready because in a couple of weeks, dear Jesus Christ. All we need to know is, folks, that we may be running on IVs on the weekend of the 19th of Father's Day weekend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's why we got it. That's why I need you to hang on after the show, Gail. And yeah, for the inscriber and for boxing news, Daniel doesn't just talk the sweet science. He also discusses wrestling a bit. So for pro wrestling fans, please check his stuff out on SoundCloud. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, you know what it is with me, Brother JR, at Brother JR76 on Twitter. As I stated at the beginning of the show, if you want to find out all things regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, the website is the place to go to, p4pboxingreport.com. And repeat that, p4pboxingreport.com. Top portion of the website, you will find the links to where to find the podcast all over podcast platforms, like all the podcast platforms, excuse me. Bottom portion of the page, you can find links to where to find us all over social media, where to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, IG, YouTube, Facebook, any and everything in between. Please please do us a favor and follow us on iTunes. Please make sure to follow us on Spotify, Anchor, anywhere else in between. Also on the website, links to where you can donate. Got a Cash Me a PayPal donation link. And last but certainly not least, check out my coaching page. Again, Let's Build Together. Group Fitness Challenge starts on July the 5th. If you're interested, just click on the coaching page where you will see the group challenge, and you can check out all programs on Beachbody On Demand. Please check out the 2-week free trial. Any and all programs on Beachbody On Demand. Any fitness goals, any exercise, that whatever you're interested in, strength-based, HIIT, cardio, yoga, anything and everything in between, please check out Beachbody On Demand. On the next episode, we will do a preview. Daniel and Gail will talk about the exhibition. I will not, but I will talk about the Badou Jack fight on the undercard of that, Jarrett Hurd and Luis Arias. And we will do a recap of Daniel Dubois, and we will do a preview of Shakur Stevenson, who's fighting a South African fighter, I believe, by the name of Nakatila, excuse me. Jose Pedraza is fighting on the undercard. So yeah, again, I want to thank everybody who joined us on the live show. EJ Boxing Live, What You Need, Alberto G. This has been episode 328 for Gail from Communities Digital News and the Falcon Valley Group. For Daniel from the Inscriber and for Boxing News, I'm your host, Michael. We will see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening, good night, happy Memorial Day, and please again, in remembrance of the today is the 100th year anniversary of the Tulsa massacres. The massacre that took place in Tulsa. For those who don't know, just a horrific event where, in short, how can I put it? All Black community was basically burned to the ground in a senseless, ridiculous way. This is the 100th year anniversary of that in the States. That's not being celebrated, but celebrated is the wrong word, is being remembered. So keep that in your memory banks. It's history that's not being told nearly enough. Thank goodness it's getting some coverage now. So yeah, have that in your minds as well. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. Episode 328, Pound for Pound Boxing Report. We will see you guys next time.